Hey everyone, Aaron here. Welcome back to another tag video. But today we're not being tagged in anime questions. More so, this is manga today. So my friend Lotus, check out his channel. I'll leave the link to his channel in the description box below. He tagged me in the manga tag, and I'll tell you right now. I'll tell everyone who I'm tagging near the end of the video. But this was a very interesting one because I used to collect more manga. Quick backstory for me. I used to collect a lot more manga when I was younger. Like when I was a teenager, I used to buy manga like in droves. But things that maybe stopped buying manga. One, the internet came to be more so with a lot of manga being available online. I mean, more so when I was a teenager, that was when the internet started doing stuff like that. Because when I was younger, you had to buy the manga, or you had to go to the library to read a book for a manga. But when I got older, of course, that was when you start seeing a lot of scanlating websites and all that. So I used to hey, I'll be honest with you, I used to use a lot of those websites to read manga. I did buy a lot of them ones, the ones I read, but the thing was, is a lot of the series that I love were never translated. So I used to do that a lot more. And I found myself buying less and less manga as time went by, unfortunately. I am now rectifying that situation. I'm buying a lot more manga now as I get older again. But the thing is that, I am not even near as close to what I used to buy in droves when I was younger. So a lot of these questions were very interesting because I had to really kind of delve back into my childhood and my teenage years to figure out, what exactly were my favorite things and all the stories behind stuff. But I found this tag really fun. So definitely I'll be tagging other people with this. But let's get on to the question. So the first question is, what was the first volume of manga you ever owned? So the first volume I ever owned was Love Hina. Love Hina was by Tokyo Pop. And I talked about this before. I hate the anime for the series, but I love the manga. When I was a young kid, I saw this. I think I was like 13 years old, I think, when I picked up Love Hina for the first time. I had already. This is not my first manga I read, mind you, but this is the first one I bought. I had read several other manga, and I saw this in Borders bookstore, which I don't know if you guys and girls remember Borders. They used to be like Barnes and Nobles, but they closed down several years back. But I read this in the store, and I know it's this subject matter you see. It's like, oh, it's got scanty clad girls on it, so it must be teenager would pick it up and be like, oh man, that's awesome. That was a bonus concept to it, but really what I picked up, I read some of it. I found it so funny. I was cracking up in the first couple pages because the situations that we see our main characters get in and the kind of romance and harem elements were really funny just in the first volume alone. So I ended up picking up this volume, and then I started picking up all of them. This is one of the few series I actually completely own. I own all 14 volumes of it. I think it's 14. I could be wrong. It could be 15, but I own the whole series nonetheless, and it's honestly one of my favorite series out there, at least that I own. But it was the first one I actually bought. All right. So the next question is, what is your favorite volume of manga in your collection? Now, I danced around this question a little bit because I'm gonna say 5 centimeters per second is one of my favorite manga of all time. And I say that because of what I own, it is a singular volume because it's essentially like an omnibus type thing. It's all together. But what's funny about it is that I still consider it my favorite individual item of manga. Like I own a lot of manga, but this is my favorite. This is the one that I took with me, everywhere I went when it came to like reading it everywhere. And the one thing about it is I just love it. I put it on my front and center on my bookshelf. It's just there. You could see it. It actually covers up several other books because it's kind of a pretty big manga. But it is definitely the favorite volume I own, and I know technically it's only one singular volume, but it's it's still an answer, right? It's still one of my favorites. It's still the favorite volume of anything I own manga wise. I honestly love this series. I love the movie, of course, but yeah, definitely awesome. All right. So next question is, what is the most expensive manga in your collection? Also danced around with this one because I was thinking, did the question mean, which one, like, did you have to sort it out, or just price tag wise? Now, I don't know many of you know, but Higurashi is one of the most expensive manga like out there. I mean, honestly, Higurashi and Umineko, both of those can go up to like from $20 to $28. Like I know, I think the second to last Higurashi one is almost $25 or $26. I know Umineko's almost last one is like 28. They're expensive because they're thick manga. They're really big, thick mangas. But this one was one more expensive, volume 2 of I forget the drifting. I think it's the drifting arc. I believe. I know it says it up there, but it's hard to read from here. Cotton drifting arc. I can see it. So this is essentially the second part to Higurashi, and I picked this up offline, I believe. And see, so once again, this is $20. So being that I had to buy it offline, I had to pay shipping and handling, of course, and plus tax. It cost me like $28 in total. So this was definitely one of the most expensive mangas I purchased. I own stuff that's around $20. Besides this, I own like 5 centimeters per second is almost $20 and stuff like that. But this is definitely one of the most expensive ones I own because of just having to buy it offline because I couldn't find it in stores. It was pissing me off. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just pay the shipping, handling fees and tax fees, whatever. So, it's the most expensive one I own. But I love Higurashi, so I really didn't like. I picked this up. I was so happy when I got it finally in the mail, and I read it the first day. I read this all in one sitting. And again, these things are huge, by the way. All the Higurashi books are pretty thick, which is kind of cool. So definitely, if you're looking for a manga that has some, I guess, substance that you can read it and feel like you spent the money worth the mangas. I know a lot of people always say, oh, a $10 manga is not worth it to me sometimes. In this case, this is one of those things that, yeah, okay, it might be $20, but you will feel it being worth it because of how big the manga is itself. Alright, next question is there any manga in your collection you regret buying? There is sure one series I regret. Candidate Goddess. Now, I didn't pay that much for Candidate Goddess, but I don't know if many people know what this series even is. Cartoon Network, way back when, this is like sort of the, I want to say the Adult Swim / I'm trying to think, Toonami type thing that they were doing together, like where it was late at night. And I'm talking about way back. They had Pilot Candidate, which is really not. I don't know why it was on that show. I mean, really, because it's not really even an ecchi type show or anything like that. It's a mecha TV show. It's only like 13 episodes, I believe. I really dig the show. It's really good. So I remember I wanted to read the manga for it when I found out it existed. I read the manga for it, and honestly, the manga is so trash. Like, I hate the art for it. It kind of ruins the story because it's half the size of the anime. And what's interesting about this is I don't know if this is Tokyo Pop's issue or if it's the creators. It like ends on just a abrupt note. Like you read the manga series and it just ends. And I remember being really pissed off about that. I think it's only like several volumes that I own of this because there were only several volumes that were in English. I don't know if there's more than that, but yeah, I regret buying this. Honestly, I didn't pay for that much for them either because I actually bought them at thrift shops. So I think I paid for the whole series maybe like $15. I want to say maybe $15. Yeah, I think $15. I'm trying to think in my head that I was like, because I know if there was several of them and I didn't pay, some of them were like $2, $3, $1. It was crazy. I'll tell you that right now, by the way, guys and girls. Definitely, if you're over at a thrift shop and they sell books, definitely check out for manga because a lot of times you can find cheap manga. But Pilot Candidate, I kind of regret buying even though it's cheap. All right, so next question is, I'm looking. What manga in your collection are you most proud of? That would be Rave Master 14. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird because it's like, well, Rave Master is also a Tokyo. By the way, a lot of these answers you notice are Tokyo Pop. I'm just throwing that out there, which is weird. But Tokyo Pop used to be my jam. I used to love everything by Tokyo Pop when I was younger. Rave Master 14, though, the reason why I'm most proud of this is because it was a pain in the ass to find, and that was before I bought stuff offline. I had to go through like 5 different bookstores. So Borders, I went to Barnes & Nobles back then when it wasn't as popular as Borders was. Barnes & Nobles became more popular when Borders kind of fizzled out and disappeared. But I went to all these stores and I freaking could not find Volume 14, and I needed it for my collection because I actually think own the whole series of Rave Master. I think I might be missing one. I might be, and I'm not sure which one that is, but I know I own 99% of the whole series. I believe I own the whole series now, but I cannot remember for the life of me because I don't have the collection with me anymore. And that goes into the next question, so I'll talk about that then. But I remember I finally found this, and I was so happy. I was like, oh shit, it came in. The guy told me it just came in today when I picked it up, and I was like, oh, I was so thrilled, and I was a young teenager when this came out, so I was so happy. But yeah, it's one of the most proudest because I had to really struggle to find it, and I didn't use internet back then really that much to look for buy stuff offline because that was more so in like the 2000s around. I think I want to say 2004, 2003 around that, maybe a little later than that, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was when I was still a teenager, so yeah, it was interesting. Anyways, so. Next question is, how do you organize your manga collection? Now, I know a lot of people are not going to, are expecting maybe because I own a lot of books that I have my books in a nice shelf, and I really don't. Unfortunately, because I live in an apartment, which, as many of you know, I really don't have a lot of space to go around organizing stuff the way I want to. Like I'll be honest with you. I'll share a big dream with you guys and girls. I've always wanted to have my own library in my house. So whenever I do get a house, I want to build a library in it. That's how much I read. But seriously, I want to build my own library. For now, all my manga and most of my books are stored in a storage unit. That's why I put a picture of a storage unit. Yeah, unfortunately, most of it is back in where I originally lived in Pennsylvania. It's a storage facility over there. I'm not gonna say where, of course, because that'd be really stupid. But anyways, I have it in a storage bin. It's unfortunately has to kind of. It's not collecting dust, but it's in giant like Tupperware type things. Like so, they're I don't know if anyone's seen it, but those giant blue containers that you could see through that have like the closed lids that you can close the top and lock them in place and all that. They're in giant things like that. I have like 3 of those. Plus, I think I have 2 boxes full of manga and books. So they're unfortunately there right now. Right now, if you actually looked at my room. I'll show it one day probably when I do a tour of my room. Even though it's an apartment, I'll show some of it. That's a big if maybe when I'll say it those words. Yeah, my books unfortunately are not the best or most neat places. Like they're really on top of each other in a closet, so it's like it's unfortunate. And I mean, the thing is that I always want to try to keep everything organized because I am a person that does like to be organized. It's again hard in an apartment, but anyways. It's just what it is, right? Alright, so let's see. What was the next one I have? Oh, so what's the next question is, what is the one out of print manga you wish you had in your collection? I had to think about this for a second. I had to look it up online. I forgot Battle Royale stopped being in print, so it's out of print currently. I always wished I had Battle Royale manga-wise. I love the movie. I love the book. I've read the book, like, I think 4 times. Honestly, it's just one of those series that's really, really good. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the art for the manga too much because I'm always kind of weird with these type of things with the super realistic characters and all that. But I did always want to buy the manga just to kind of collect everything that is Battle Royale because I have the movie, I have the Blu-ray of it, I have the DVD version of it, I have the book, of course, which is the original version of how the book looked. That was translated in English, the first version, not the newest one. They have a newer one that came out recently, and I still have to buy. There was a side story that they made, which is centered around the girls in the lighthouse of the movie and the manga. Which, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil what that is. Essentially, I know how that goes down, but I always want to get that light novel series. But what's funny about this is that I do want to buy this one day, and I will probably try to figure out a way of doing that because. Again, Battle Royale is awesome. If you guys haven't checked out Battle Royale, by the way, go do it. It is. If you love the Hunger Games or anything like that, this is what made the Hunger Games originally because this came out before that, and this is way better, way better than the Hunger Games. No offense to anyone that likes the Hunger Games. I read the Hunger Games myself, but this is way better. Just saying that right now. All right, next question is, what is the one manga you wish you had translated into your native language? Well, my native language is, of course, English. For me, that'd be A Town Where You Live in. Now, it is a series that I wished was known more by people because that's the reason why I think the manga has not been translated in English. A Town Where You Live in is one of the best I'm just saying this right now, one of the best romance mangas you could ever read. Honestly, it is that awesome. I've read a lot of romance novels because, in general, I love romance. Like I've said, it's my favorite genre. I read novels, I read stuff like that. But in general, for manga and story wise, A Town Where You Live is just full of greatness. It has a little bit of humor, it has a little bit of drama, it has a little bit of sorrow, it has a little bit of happiness. It has everything you want from a romance story, all chalked into the series. Definitely find some website to look this up on because unfortunately, like I said, I would buy this if this was translated in English. It is not, and I've looked for it. Trust me, it is not translated in English, unfortunately. Hopefully one day someone will rectify the situation because I would always love to pick this up. But as it is, it's not. And this is one series I would die to get. Like, I want this so bad. You have no idea. It kills me. Like, I've reread this manga online, like, I think 5 or 6 times. I love it so much. But anyways, let's move on to the next question so I don't keep having, my little fangirl moment here. By the way, sorry for the mic blow. Anyways, what do you prefer, omnibus or single volumes? I'll be honest with you, omnibus. I know that pisses some people off because, like, diehard collectors are always like, oh, I'd rather have the individual volumes. again, when you start realizing that, if you have a lot of manga or a lot of books in general, space is nice. On a bookshelf, space is very, very nice. So in this sense, having an omnibus, which is a giant version of a series. So essentially, if a series is 8 volumes, it's now maybe like volumes 1 through 3 or 4 in one book. It's nice to have. It makes it so neat. It makes it so much easier to put on a bookshelf. And I'll be honest with you, it feels like it feels a lot of times like it's worth more money than it actually is, which is kind of cool. And a lot of times also, omnibuses are not as expensive because of the fact that even though it's 4 volumes in one, they've realized that diehard collectors prefer the individual volumes, so they kind of nerf the price a little bit. Not usually a lot per se, but they do it enough that you feel like you are kind of getting a savings out of it. I showed the image of Chobits Omnibus. Even though I own the whole individual volume of Chobits, I own all 1 through 8. I always kind of liked the omnibus of it because I think the omnibus was a lot neater and a lot cooler in terms of just having just 2 books in total. Like, so you have 8 individual volumes, but the omnibus you only have 2. So honestly, that's up to you, but that's just me personally. All right, final question, by the way. Well, second to final question is, what is one underrated / unknown manga you would recommend to others? I had to think about this also. The Kenichi case, the Killer Case Files. Now, the Kenichi, I know, is a manga series, or actually an anime series now. I know that. And unfortunately, even then, it's not really that well known. And I was going to watch it, I was going to review it. The only reason I stopped was I think at the time I couldn't review a lot of shows, and I had to kind of put it on the back burner. I stopped even watching the anime. I watched like 1 episode of it and kind of dropped it for the time being. And the thing is that I love the series in general, but there's a lot of stuff out, and I know this is a longer running series and a longer running franchise. But manga wise, I always thought the manga was really nice. I love the artwork style. I love just the characters. I love the story and the concepts of it and the mystery stories that are in it. This is really good. If you are a big fan of like stories like Case Closed, this is the more adult version of Case Closed essentially, because there's a lot of true like horror mysteries and kind of, well, not horror mysteries, but more murder mystery type things. It's really, really well done. It is one of those series I always tell people to go check out if you love mystery type things and you want something good. So the last question, of course, is who am I going to be tagging? So I'm going to tag the following 3 people. I'm going to be tagging the Otaku Fangirl. I'll be tagging Brago Diaz, and I'll be tagging I want to say Habit also. So those 3 I'm going to be doing. As always, I'll leave the links to their channels in the description box below, so you can definitely check them out, so you can watch their video, hopefully do it. They don't have to, of course, so I'm not saying you're forced to do it. If you want to, go for it. If you don't want to, hey, no big deal. If you guys want me to do more of these, put in the comments below, hey, because I love doing these. These are a lot of fun, so I can definitely try to do some more, get some more people to tag me, or even maybe think of some of my own. But anyways, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a great, great day. Bye-bye, everyone.